Hello, beautiful people. Good morning. Actually, rainy morning here from the Philippines. Ooh, how can I? There's no virtual background here. Mhm. Let's see. It's been raining here for 5, almost a week now. Anyway, one moment. Let me close the light in the back. We are We are preparing to leave for Manila as well this morning. How are you guys doing? Put your name and where are you watching from in the chat. So today's session is just ask me anything. If you have any question, feel free to drop it down in the chat. I've been rereading the book Conscious Loving by Gay Hendricks and Katrin Hendricks. And one of the things that I really love about it, especially this phrase where using relationship as a path to evolution is very fascinating for me, and how love can bring our issues to the surface, which is really true. Like whenever we get into a close relationship with someone, we tend to be triggered by them. And in those triggers, there's actually a lot of opportunity to grow and evolve. I am curious if you've experienced anything like that, or if you've noticed it within your close relationship. And how do you navigate the situation when you're being triggered by someone you cared about? Hello. Hi, Stephen, Truth Finder. Thank you for being here. Mark, good morning. Jason, good morning from Australia. Ela is doing some packing in the background. We'll be leaving here soon in the next 2 hours. I hope our flight is not delayed. Mm. So, yeah, just been rereading this book, and I love the nuggets that I'm able to take away from it. Good morning from future. Where are you, Mark? Are you ahead of us? I wish, but no, it's work travel. We'll be go we'll be attending an event in Manila that's happening tomorrow, and it's very exciting. Most of the time if we go to Manila, it's work related stuff. How's the weather in Australia or the other part of the world? Because here in the Philippines, it's been raining nonstop. The place that's 30 minutes away from us, Dawin, they don't have electricity for the past 5 days. I'm glad that we are not affected by it here in Valencia. Actually, let me get my Kindle and let's learn something together here in this live stream. And yes, feel free to put your questions in the chat as well as I get my Kindle. I'll be back. Welcome back. Oh, very humid in Australia. Uh, is it still summertime? Hi, Jason. Cool morning. Similar here. Actually, I love the cool weather. It's like a cuddly in bed weather. It's like you don't want to get out of bed and just want to stay there. Mm. Ooh, Cocoa Grove. That's nice. I hope you will have a fun time here. Is this going to be your first time, Mark, visiting in? Nice. What is it that you're looking forward to and expecting? Sikihor is one of my favorite island here in the Philippines to visit. And it's very close to where I live right now. So just one boat away, I think 45 minutes away. It's very good. Uh, exactly. I'm going through my Kindle right now with this book, Conscious Loving, and I'm in this part where it talks about unconscious deals. So, yeah, usually when we're in a relationship, there are things that we have in our head. And let's say, for example, like, oh, we're, we expect that our partner will always cuddle us when we feel down. Well, they will be there for us when when we're sad and we need emotional support. Our expectation is for them to hold space, to hold our hands, stuff like that. And whenever our partner doesn't do that, we get very disappointed and feel sad. And it's funny because Eli and I, we have a different approach when it comes to, you know, dealing with someone who's in pain. When I'm feeling down and frustrated, Eli's natural default is to be there for me, to ask me question, how are you feeling? How can I help you? And I just want to be left alone. I just want to have like a distance in order for me to think and reflect, because otherwise I'll be easily triggered and I'll be annoyed by him. And now, when Eli is feeling down, usually because I work here in the living room and his work office is in the bedroom. So from time to time, I will go in the bedroom and check in on him and like give him a little shoulder massage and ask, like, oh, how's your day going? And as soon as he says, ah, it's been stressful and tiring. And then I was like, okay, and exit exit the bedroom. And this was like few months ago, and we noticed that our approach is not really helpful to each other. We tend to have different approach. Like for Eli, when he's feeling down and sad, he wanted someone. He want me to be there. He want me to be curious. He want me to ask question, and he wants me to at least not necessarily solve the problem, but maybe just hold his hands, give him a hug, and tell him that we can get through this. And in my end, if I am in that, you know, state of like frustration, sadness, the first thing that I prefer is to just be understood and given space. And sometimes we expect our partner to know what our preference without telling them. We expect our partner to be a mind reader, and that's one of the reason why there's a lot of conflict in the relationship, and you'll just be shocked like, I have a good intention, yet what happened, yet we're in a fight right now. So I think it's really important to look into those unconscious deals that you have in your mind towards your partner, and ask yourself, have I communicated this to my partner enough? Have we agreed in this deal? Because if it's just a deal between you and yourself, and then you expect your partner to know about it, then you're just setting yourself for disappointment. And being in a disappointed state is not fun. So it's always better to communicate and talk about it. Just wanted to share that. Mark, when you love someone, you want to be there nonstop. So it's hard to accept partner want to be, but it's good to know these so you can enjoy and respect boundaries. I prefer they yell on me than give me silent treatment and you don't know what. But yeah, it's hard to actually try to come into a relationship. It's very challenging because you come in with different set of belief, boundaries, and of course in the relationship, that's why there is what you call a power struggle, because you want to make sure that it's hard to give up sort of autonomy and freedom, because when you're coming in a relationship, you're not just thinking about yourself. You also have to consider your partner. Does what I want is something that they want too? And if they don't want the things that I want, how can we solve that? That becomes a problem. And I'm glad that there's always a way to go about it. There's always a way to create conflict into creativity, and to make sure that you can have those differences talk about and find a middle ground for both of you to compromise. And I'm curious, what are the difficult challenges that you've experienced being in a romantic relationship? Thank you, Mark. I love how you're very engaging in chat. How about the others? How are you guys doing? Mark here said, yes, it's cultural differences, maybe age, experiences of life, totally different upbringing, but it's work in progress. I say where there's a will, there's a way. Totally, totally true. Yes, I know, right? Cultural difference is such a huge challenge. And being a Filipina partner to an American, it's definitely, I see a lot of cultural differences, let's say, in when it comes to the standard of living. I came from a, poor background, and I don't really expect a level of, when you say silence, like, okay, we're trying to find a place where there is, where we can find peace, and we really love this place here where we live in Valencia. It's close to nature. When I look at the uh, our balcony, I can see trees. However, there are moments where dogs bark so loud, and I could just, what do you call that, like, not pay attention to it. It doesn't really bother me. But for Eli, it bothers him so much, and it creates chaos into his day. And that alone, that I'm already seeing, like, oh, why do you have to be so annoyed about that? Like, it's just dogs. But it's hard for me to grasp and understand, because I'm used to a loud environment where I used to grow up. Our neighbors are yelling, our neighbors are singing karaoke. And when it comes to the cleanliness of the house as well, again, like in our place, there's just a certain level of cleanliness that we have. And now with Eli, which I actually love that I was able to adapt. Now I was looking back, I'm like, wow, we were never really cleaning the house well enough. And I can see that it's also a challenge for our helper who comes in, because they're not used to that level of cleanliness that Eli actually wants, like, and paying attention to details. Most of the time, when, even for me, when I, back then, when I clean, I just, sweep. What if I look at the thing and it's clean, that's good. But no, Eli would like go under and like lift things, and like, oh, there's still dust. And even those little things, it creates like chaos. But then I'm glad that I learned that, you know what, make instead of feeling bad that, oh, we have this, kind of standard, why don't we talk about it? Do we actually, which standard do we want to follow? And I actually prefer his standard of cleanliness, because I love when I look at my house and it's clean, and it feels so nice to live in it. But I also want to make sure that we teach, the people that is cleaning the house the way we want, and not just expect them to already know the kind of standard. And if they don't clean, um, let's say, the house the way we want it, we just have to teach them and show them. And I'm glad that Eli is someone who actually would do the cleaning of the bathroom, just to show our helper how to do it. And I think it's always better that way. Hi Edward. Talking to a Filipina, she told me she does not want to have sex before getting married. Is this common in the Philippines? I was surprised. Thanks for helping. Thank you, Edward, for asking that question. Maybe if she's from the province, yes, it's still common. And is this a long distance thing that you're talking about? Because yes, it's still quite a taboo here to do premarital sex, surprising as it is, because there's a lot of single mom and teenage mom here. That means people are very curious, but it's socially unacceptable still, not LDR. You can just ask maybe question like, why are you um afraid of doing that? Maybe it's because of the Christian upbringing for her, because here in the Philippines, there's it's a Catholic country, and you'll be shame and guilt will come to you when you do premarital sex. But yeah, there are still people who follow that, who subscribe to that narrative that sex before marriage is important. I don't judge those people who choose um, to restrain themselves from being intimate with their partner before marriage. I don't subscribe to it, obviously. I have two kids prior to marriage, and I'm in this relationship with Eli. And for me, I realize, even though you will say sex is not the most important thing, but sex is very important. And I don't want to get married to someone when I'm not sure if we actually click when it comes to the intimacy part. So that's actually part of getting to know someone, is I want to be able to experience, getting connected with that person, like physically, and see how my body reacts, how my body feels when I'm being held, when I'm being touched by this person. And if I wait before marriage to do that, like, hell, what happen if we don't actually click? Then I'll be stuck in a relationship that I don't want, that I'm not feeling comfortable with. I just don't think it's, what do you call that? It, at least for me, I don't see it as a good idea. And please comment if you disagree and tell me why. Mark, or let's say Truth Finder, since I've been in a long relationship marriage before, and I guess I judge those I meet based on my past experiences, I can get triggered very fast, which surprised me. And that's totally understand, because again, um, one of the reason why, for me, as I've said in the beginning of this live stream, relationship is the path to evolution, because relationship allows all those triggers to emerge in the surface, and for us to be given an opportunity to look at it and to be aware of what's happening, instead of reacting, blaming the other person for our triggers. It's an opportunity for us to take 100% ownership and actually ask myself, why am I triggered? What is something that is going on inside me that caused this trigger to happen? Like, if we start asking those questions, if we actually go within and ask ourselves, we'll be surprised with the kind of answer that we are getting. But then again, our common default and the most satisfying in that moment is to just blame the other person, to point finger, like, oh, you did this and now I feel this. But then you're missing the opportunity, you're missing the gift of actually understanding yourself and healing from those triggers. It took me a while to actually grasp that idea. I think just middle of last year, when I start noticing that, hey, whenever I get triggered by Eli, whenever we are in fight and conflict, once I just pause, lengthen the pause, or try to reflect on those fights that we have, I always learn something. And it always goes back to me. How did I perceive the situation? How did I interpret it in my mind? And it's all based from the experiences I had in the past. It really has nothing to do with Eli. He just happens to be there, the person who poked the trigger. But otherwise, all my reaction are all based from my previous experiences that are probably not healed yet, or I'm probably still annoyed and angry, and now it's coming out, and now I have the option to actually heal it. And I'm seeing triggers now as a gift, as an opportunity. Like, wow, what can I get triggered so much? What can I learn from this? It's just so fascinating. Thank you, Stephen, for your vulnerability and honesty in sharing that. Mark, I am not looking for a relationship and been alone for a few years, and it's best time I have it's best time I have as I work on myself to embrace myself, love myself. I give plenty love to others, but in help, sponsorship, give. That's very good, Mark. I think it's so important to take our time and get to know ourselves, invest in ourselves. I was single for 3 years, and 2 years of that, I was so desperate in finding a relationship, being wanting to be in a relationship, and I failed big time. I was even more hurt. And then I decided, like, you know what? Let me drop this intention of trying to be in a relationship and let me just actually focus on getting to know myself, getting to know what do I actually really want, what type of people do I actually want to attract into my life. And it was a much beautiful journey, and it's a journey where I attract the love of my life now, which is Eli, and attracted a lot of amazing people. Speaking of Eli, hi Derek, Fuller, Grand Rising. I love that. Truth Finder, recent experience, different cultural misunderstanding for expectation. She wants to go faster for relationship development, and I want to be more cautious and slow down. Yes, we can definitely go through those experiences. Like, we're not on the same page with the other person. And I'm curious, how do you go about it? Exactly, Mark. When you're in a negative state, you tend to attract the same vibe as well. Because I believe that you know, we work in frequencies. Thank you, Mark, for being here. Let me look into the book again, see what wisdom we can find here. Oh, here, blame. One way to keep a bad relationship going is to make somebody wrong. For example, one person in the relationship takes on the role of bad guy, while the other gets to wear the good guy hat. The classic example of this pattern is the relationship between long suffering wife and a bad little boy husband. He keeps messing up, and she keeps picking up after him. Replete with much suffering, the relationship continues by their both agreeing that he is the bad guy. If he ever got better, the relationship would be over, so he must keep messing up. It's very interesting. It reminds me of my relationship with my ex, who I consider as, he's the bad guy in our relationship. He's the one who keeps messing up, and I'm the one who has to deal with all the problem that comes along with it. And it's not really good because, it took me, I think, 3 years since we broke up to realize that it's not just him who's causing problems in the relationship. I was part of the problem. I was part to I have my part in creating the relationship. I was part of creating the negativity within the relationship. But I was so blind to see that back then. I was just keep on blaming him, and I judge him. I look at him like even if he doesn't do anything yet, I automatically see him as the bad person. And I keep looking at the things that I don't like and disapprove about him, and very rarely actually acknowledge the good things that he's doing. And I think that's why the relationship really fall apart, because I see him as this naughty little boy who keeps messing up, and he sees me as this maybe the mother who keeps scolding him, and it doesn't work that way. Exactly, Jason, the mother and the boy dynamic. And it's also funny when it gets reversed, because I notice in the early stage of my relationship with Eli, I get so defensive when I feel like I'm being blamed, or if I sense that Eli is sort of scolding me or telling me that I did something wrong. And then that side of me, of this child me, is wanting to rebel, is wanting to, like, prove my point. And whenever that is happening, it fascinates me, like, wow, there's this child in me that wants to actually rebel here. What's going on? Instead of judging that part of me, I try to even lengthen the pause and just actually ask, what is it that I really want in this moment? Why do I have this urge to rebel to what Eli is saying? And it always goes down to one thing: autonomy and freedom for myself, because I'd never had that when I was a kid. I'm always being restrained and constricted by my siblings. And now, as an adult, I want to fight for that freedom and autonomy. And now that I'm seeing those story as it happens, I realize, like, hey, the situation now is actually different. Now I have the opportunity to talk about it with Eli and tell him where I'm coming from. Why do I want to do this way? Why I did this, without having to fight, without having to defend myself. And also to ask Eli, like, okay, can we renegotiate our agreement, or is there a way that we can actually change? And if I realize that, oh, it's just me who's being a brat and really breaking the agreements that we both agreed and talked about. And in that time, instead of being defensive and rebellious, it's my opportunity to take ownership, own, own the mistake, and apologize for it, instead of being a kid and just defending myself. Edward is a girl marrying a femme perceived as negative by locals. I love that question. Mostly, yes. Unfortunately, they will automatically think that, oh, she's just marrying him for money, or like, oh, another poor Filipina, get out from the poverty, stuff like that. And and sometimes they will be expected to help back in the family, and when they choose not to, they will be labeled as, you know different, as bad, someone who doesn't know how to look back to her family. And that's actually very sad. And I sometimes people do that because instead of celebrating that one person has found the love of her life, most people, they default into thinking the negative thing, because I think that's just the what you call the crab mentality that Filipino has. And I'm not sure if it's just in the Philippines, probably in the other country. It also is happening where you don't want to celebrate other people's happiness and success because that just reminds you that, what about me? Why am I in this? It lets you look at yourself and realize that, oh, I don't have that happiness. I don't have that success that they have. So instead of seeing it as an opportunity to, like, oh, if that person was able to find her love life, then that means I can too. Most people don't see it that way. They feel like, oh, now the good people are gone, they're now taken. They think that it's a limited resource, or sometimes for them to feel good about themselves and so that they don't focus on the pain, they just talk negatively about the other person, like, oh, it will not last forever, or oh, it's all it's just about the money, it's not true love, blah blah blah. And that's just sad. Most people default into looking at things negatively instead of celebrating it. Hi, Isaac. How are you all doing? I hope you all are doing well. Thank you. Thank you for asking that. I'm doing very well. Drinking, sipping my cup of coffee, and I really enjoy having this conversation with all of you as well. Thank you so much for being here and joining me in my live stream. I try to do this live stream at least bi-weekly, mostly every Wednesday, but now I just move it to Tuesday because I will have an event that I'm attending tomorrow in Manila. Jason, yes, I've heard of this. It does happen in Australia. It's called a tall poppy syndrome. It seems to be more prevalent in the Philippines. Huh, it's interesting. Tall poppy syndrome. Here we call it crab mentality, where people try to, like, when they see someone who's going up or is having a better situation in life, they want to pull them down. And again, that's because they don't want that comparison. Like, if someone level up in life and you're still stuck here, that person who's leveling up in life, that's your proof that, hey, you're still here. What's going on in your life? Why are you not doing something to improve yourself? And that's painful when we see that. That's painful when we realize, like, heck, I'm stuck. Or like, oh, I'm stuck in this toxic relationship. I'm stuck in this living situation that I don't like. I'm stuck in this type of thinking that's limiting me. Because look at that other person who's just my neighbor. They're improving their life, they're getting better. And instead of asking the question, oh, what difference did they did? What did they do differently that allowed them to be in that space? What can I do to also improve my life? That would have been a better question. But unfortunately, they default more into negative question that lets them stay stuck, keep them suffering. So it's all about, I really believe that it's not really about finding the answer, but it's about asking the right question. It's about the quality of question that you're asking within yourself that would really, define the kind of life that you will experience. Because I remember when I was stuck in that relationship with my ex, I keep asking myself, like, why am I in this relationship? Why do I feel? Why does life full of struggle and suffering? Why am I here? And of course my brain is answering, like, all the negative things that I've done in the past, like, oh, that's why you're stuck, that's why you're suffering, because you got pregnant early, you didn't go to school, you were being rebellious, blah blah blah. And then I feel even more bad because, like, oh, I deserve to be in this toxic stuck situation. And I'm glad I started to ask different question. Just after During the pandemic, I started asking, huh, who do I want to become? What kind of life do I actually want to live? What is it that I can do to improve? Who are the people that I have to connect with to learn so I can learn from them? And boom, different things happen. Different reality creates itself from asking those quality questions. So pay attention to the kind of question that you're asking yourself because that's very powerful and it can be life changing. Jason, oh yeah, I've read this comment. Thank you, Jason, Isaac, Stephen, Mark, Derek, for being here and for asking your question. And for everyone who's new, feel free to drop your name, where you're from, and if you have question, any question, feel free to drop it in the chat. Edward, is Tinder a serious app in the Philippines or for hookup like in France? I really think that it's always up to you. I've met Eli in Tinder and I've met a lot of amazing people in Tinder. I also met few in Badu and I heard that Bumble is also good. So whatever, it's not really about what kind of dating app that you're using, but it's about your approach. Your what is it that you're really looking for in that app? If you're thinking that, oh, these are just hookup, then you will be attracting all hookup. But if you're actually thinking like, oh, who are the interesting people that I could meet here, then there's probably people that you can meet there. But yeah, I've heard that they think as of Tinder as for hookup because it's very easy to use, easy to navigate app, and there's a lot of people who's using Tinder. But then again, it's all about our filter and how we use it. I personally use Tinder a lot more in the past because yeah, it's just easier to meet people using Tinder. I'm looking at the. Mm. Speaking of dating app, it just reminds me of the times where I'm very active in dating app and it's quite frustrating, right? Because there's a lot of, and it probably is more even frustrating with the guys because when I asked Eli for his dating app experience, like he would have a lot of match, but the girls are just saying hi hello, very short answered. Um, yeah, very short way of texting. And when I was in the dating scene as well, it's just so hard when you get a lot of matches. It's hard to actually keep up with all the chats. And sometimes I actually prefer to just chat a few, and then if they're just close by, I prefer to just meet because it's so much better to talk in person. And I'm always asked a question, are you gay? Are you a lady boy? Because most Filipina, they don't like to meet up or it takes them a long time to say yes to meeting in person. And sometimes if they say yes, they will, yeah, can I bring a friend? And sometimes they don't even ask permission. They just bring a friend. And you'll just be surprised, like, oh, I'm meeting two-person instead of just one. But I prefer to I use dating app before to meet people because I'm very shy. I have such a very low self-esteem back then and I wanted to push myself to go out there to interact with people. And I'm glad I did that because now I feel very comfortable in meeting random people in being curious and asking them question and get to know people. And that's the thing. That's one tip that I could give in order to have a success when it comes to dating is be curious with a person. Ask a lot of questions. It's not really about impressing the person, because the more you talk, the more you will make your date bored. So, if you want to create a lasting impression, ask a lot of questions, be curious about them, because we love to talk about ourselves. So, if you want that person to want to see you again and for you to stick in their mind, ask them a lot of questions, make them talk. And I find it surprising that it's actually very rare for people to ask question. I notice, I also see like in my experiences before that they are so surprised. The guys that I'm meeting, they're like, my God, you ask a lot of you ask a lot of question. Not all girls do that. And I guess some girls are too shy as well. But I find it really helpful that way. And it also helped me because I get to know the person and I get to, in the back of my head, like, oh, is this the kind of person that I actually want to connect and associate with? So there's a lot of positive things that you can get out when you engage and get curious about someone. How about you all? What are your experiences when it comes to online dating? How do you find it? Hard, difficult? Have you had any funny experiences, embarrassing moments? I remember being 30 minutes late to one of my meetup, and he told me like, okay, now you have to pay for the lunch because you're late. And I was like, oh my God, thank God I have extra money. Otherwise, this will be embarrassing. Have you had multiple meetup in one day as well? Truth Finder. Meeting women is natural for me. Attractive characteristic is magnetic. The third stage is compatibility and getting honest answers because many just say things they want the other to like them. That is so true. R. Scott, like your way of thinking taught my son this as to get to know. That's very good, Scott. I think that's really beautiful that you're teaching your son the power of asking question. I think it's really good. And asking good question as well is very important too. Because again, it's not about we can get the answer. There's always answer. So if you ask like why am I in this stuck situation, you will be given a lot of a lot of answer for that. But if you ask it, how can I get unstuck? That's a better question. Why I am not attracting the woman that I want, you will be flooded with a lot of answer. So why don't we ask, how can I attract amazing woman that I want in my life? That's a better question. Jason, I've never actually dated properly. I've never had a serious relationship, not in a true sense. They've been shallow and semi toxic. It's kind of embarrassing. Don't worry, Jason. And I appreciate your vulnerability and honesty, and I'm sure you're not alone in that journey. There are a lot of people who've been in this type of situation as well. And have you asked yourself, like, what is it? What kind of relationship do you actually want? What kind of relationship you want for yourself? What kind of people you want to attract in your life? I think you can start a question. You can start from there, asking those kind of question. If you're seeing a pattern of shallowness and toxic thing in the relationship, then maybe you can start asking, how can you avoid those type of relationship and create a better one? But first, ask yourself, what kind of relationship do you actually want, that you can envision, that is good for you? Truth finder, better questions get better answers and better connection. So true. I couldn't agree more. And it's, for me, it's really life changing. It's life changing for my life, from being stuck in life, stressful, attracting toxic people in my life, to having such a beautiful life where I really desire a life that I really love living, the life that makes me feel so excited waking up in the morning, a life that makes me want to do and create more. It's so beautiful. And again, it's a matter of asking the right question. These days, I notice myself, whenever I feel negative, I try to look outside and, like, what is something I can be grateful for? I think gratitude is also very powerful tool that we can use to lighten up our day. What are the things that I could be grateful for? It's raining, it's gloomy outside. What are the things that I could appreciate in this moment? I appreciate that I have a roof over my head. And even though it's raining, I'm not experiencing flood. Our electricity is still running. I have everything I need in the house, so I don't have to go out and get wet. So, you can always find those little things to be grateful for, and it really change your mood as well. Truth finder, a companion is different than a partner or even a life partner. So true. And you have to be, you can ask yourself too, what am I looking for? Am I looking for a companion, a life partner, a lover? They're all different. Sometimes people, I I had a friend, and when I he was expressing to me that, oh, he wants, the kind of relationship that I have with Eli. And then I asked him, in the stage of your life right now, what is it that you're looking for? And then he realized that, oh, I'm actually not ready to be in a committed relationship. I want my freedom. I just want to meet people. I just want to get to know people and connect with people. Then I told him, like, there you go. There's your answer. You couldn't really find a relationship that you will be committed to because your mind is not set for that yet. Your mind is still in the fun, playful side still. So when there's someone that you really like, and when the situation gets tough, it's so easy for you to just get out because you're still not fully committed to being in a long-term relationship, and that's fine as long as you know about it. So then you don't have to beat yourself up, and just enjoy the moment. And when you decide that, okay, this time I want to be serious, then you can create a different approach when it comes to dating. Hi, Scott. Positive people to start? No. Ah, I'm not sure I understand the thought here, Scott. Jason, I haven't been in a relationship for 7 to 8 years. I've done a lot of work. My boundaries are firm now. That's a long time. Are you able to at least connect with other people? Wow, 7 to 8 years. I have another book that I was reading called the Pleasure Blueprint for Pleasure, and it has 5 stages of its focus on sexuality. There's resting, where you don't want to be intimately connected with other people, and probably because maybe you've just had a major breakup and you don't want to associate with another relationship. Or there's also healing. Maybe you had an injury, or you get some infection and you don't want to connect with others intimately. And there's also a stage where it's all about curiosity. You're starting to wonder what's out there. Like, what is it that I want? What are the fantasies that I want to explore? And then there is the adventurous stage where you go out and explore. And then there's the enlightened state, where you're actually asking yourself, or wanting to have an experience, a sexual experience, not just for the physical aspect of it, but how can I become a better version of myself, or what is it that I can learn from this experience, or uh, out of this world experience when it comes to connecting with someone. Uh, I just thought of that, Jason, from asking this, from you sharing your singlehood years. How do you also share your boundaries with someone? Because now I'm just learning about boundaries, and I realize it's also very difficult to express boundaries. And I think by sharing your boundaries with your partner, you need to have an agreement as well, about the boundaries, making sure that you're able to communicate it, agree about it, and able and also expect that if you say your boundary first time, there will be it's most likely it will be crossed by the other person. So also talk about, okay, if this boundary is crossed, what will happen? If this boundary is cross, how can we talk about it? How can we deal with it? I think that's also a good follow-up question. Otherwise, if it's your boundary is crossed, automatically you'll just feel offended and get angry about it and fight. So it's always better to have like a follow-up, because most likely it will be. It's like, how are we gonna fight? Are we going to fight by yelling to each other, or are we going to fight by actually sitting down and talking and understanding why this boundary is very important for me, and why did you actually cross the boundary? Not in a place of blame, but in a place of curiosity and trying to understand. Blockchain Circle. Hi, Gladys. I have met some nice women in the Philippines, but when I say I'm an atheist, they run away. Oh, that's sad. And I can understand because, again, most people here are Christian, and they just couldn't wrap their mind around the idea of someone not believing in God or higher being. And I highly suggest, just maybe if you introduce the idea of atheist, you put it in a much soft way. But I also want to ask you, How do you look at people who actually is a believer of God? Do you see them? Do you judge those people? Because if there's judgment there, then most likely, if you brought up the topic, there will be some friction or triggers. Because I personally respect all religion and I see why people need religion in their life. And I think it's something also very important and powerful. It guides them, it gives them hope. I believe in the divine, in the universe. There are things that I couldn't explain, science couldn't explain, and I'm curious and fascinated about that. I'm sure there's higher being, but I don't necessarily associate it with God, goddesses, and stuff like that. But I'm always respectful and curious with whatever your belief system. I don't judge you for your belief. I actually look at you based on your actions and how you deal with other people. All right, everyone, it's already 8. I'm going to get ready and pack. I really love to be spending my time here with you. And thank you, thank you. Really grateful for all of you for also spending some time with me. I hope you have a beautiful day, everyone. Take care and have an orgasmic day. Mwah. Take care, everyone.